George Miller was 62 years old, a man whose life had been defined by sacrifice. For decades, he worked as a carpenter, shaping wood with his bare hands, often working late into the night to provide for his only son, Michael. His life was simple, his home modest, but his love for Michael was endless. When his wife Mary passed away while Michael was only 14, George carried the double burden of father and mother without complaint. Every meal skipped, every hour worked, every dollar saved was for his son's future. George never lived lavishly, but his modest life hid a truth few knew. While people saw an old man in worn clothes, he had quietly saved over the years. Piece by piece, he built not just furniture, but stability, acquiring small properties, and creating a fortune he never spoke of. He didn't care for showing off. His wealth, to him, was his son's security. When Michael introduced his fiancée, Claire, George noticed immediately that she was not like him. Claire came from a family that measured worth in appearances and status. Her smile toward George was polite but thin, her eyes betraying judgment. She looked at his old shoes, his simple suit, his hands worn from labor, and decided he was beneath her. Michael was blinded by love, so he never saw it. George, however, stayed silent, hoping time would reveal what he already sensed. The wedding day came, grand and filled with guests in elegant clothes. The hall shimmered with chandeliers, and the air buzzed with laughter and excitement. George wore his best suit, one that had served him faithfully for years. It was clean, neat, but not new. As he approached the newlyweds during the reception, Claire leaned toward a group of guests and spoke loudly enough for many to hear. She smirked, glancing at George, and said, "I told Michael we should have kept this wedding small. His father looks like he came in from the wrong neighborhood. Poor man. No wonder Michael had to work so hard. He didn't get anything from him." The words spread like wildfire. Some guests chuckled, others looked down in discomfort. Michael froze, torn between loyalty to his wife and embarrassment at his father. George lowered his head, his chest heavy with pain. He didn't respond to the insult, but it pierced him deeply. Not just Claire's words, but Michael's silence. Later in the evening, the time came for speeches. The microphone passed from hand to hand, until finally it reached George. He stood, adjusting his old suit, and looked out at the crowd. His voice was steady but carried weight. He began, "I may not wear the finest suit, or drive the fanciest car. To many of you, I may look poor, and perhaps by your measure I am. But let me tell you what wealth really is." The room grew still. George continued, "Wealth is working 3 jobs so your son can go to college. Wealth is going hungry so your child never has to. Wealth is love that doesn't count the cost." Gasps echoed as George reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope. He handed it to Michael. Inside were deeds to 3 properties George had quietly acquired over the years, and documents revealing a trust fund worth more than anyone in the room expected. "Michael," George said, his eyes softening, "everything I built, every sacrifice I made, was for you. Not to impress anyone here, not to prove myself to those who measure worth by money or clothes, but because you are my son. While some may call me poor, I stand here the richest man alive, because I gave everything for love." The silence was deafening. Claire's face drained of color, her smugness collapsing into shame. Guests shifted in their seats, their earlier whispers replaced by guilt. Michael's eyes filled with tears as he stood, wrapping his arms around his father. "I had no idea, Dad," he whispered. "I'm sorry." In the days that followed, word spread of what had happened at the wedding. Claire's image suffered, no longer seen as the glamorous bride she wanted to be, but as the woman who had mocked the man who had sacrificed everything. Michael began to see his wife differently, questioning her values. Their marriage would never be the same. George returned to his quiet life. unaffected by the sudden change in how others treated him. He had not revealed his secret fortune to win approval, but to teach his son one last lesson. He knew that money can turn heads, but character leaves a legacy. His life had not been about wealth, but about love. And in that moment, in front of everyone, he had made it clear. Sometimes the poorest-looking man in the room is the richest in ways others can never understand. True wealth is not shown in gold or designer clothes. It is measured in sacrifice, in resilience, and in the love that endures even when unrecognized. On that wedding day, George taught not only his son, but everyone present a truth they would never forget. Money may buy respect for a moment, but character earns it forever.